You walk into a room, and someone immediately looks away. Not casually, not naturally, just enough to make you notice. You start speaking, and they don't react. No nod, no expression, nothing. And right there, something shifts inside you. You hesitate. You start thinking, was that awkward? Did I say something wrong? There's a reason this works so well, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it, because this isn't random. And the worst part? Sometimes, it's completely intentional. This is where most people lose control of the situation, without even noticing it. You tell yourself it's just nerves. Maybe you're overthinking. Maybe you just need to be more confident. But what's actually happening is, they're quietly putting you in a lower position without saying a single word. But they do it by withholding something your brain expects. Attention, reaction, acknowledgement. And your brain doesn't stay neutral when that happens. It reacts. Because your brain treats social rejection like a threat. So the moment those signals disappear, your focus shifts inward. You start analyzing yourself, adjusting your tone, trying to fix something that wasn't even broken. And this is the exact moment your brain starts working against you, because instead of observing them, you start managing how you're being perceived. And if you don't recognize this pattern, you'll keep giving away control in conversations without realizing it. No one raised their voice. No one said anything aggressive. But the dynamic already changed. Because at that point, you've already adjusted yourself for them. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. And it'll start showing up in places you never questioned before. Not during obvious conflicts, but in quiet moments where everything seems normal. For example, watch what happens in a meeting. You share an idea. Other people get nods, reactions, follow-ups. But when you speak, one person stays completely still. No expression, no response. They don't disagree. They don't support. They just give you nothing. And your brain reacts to that silence as something worse than criticism, because at least criticism gives you something to respond to. This puts you in a position where you start questioning yourself, and it gets even more subtle than that. You're in a group conversation, you say something and no one cuts you off, no one disagrees, they just move on, as if you never spoke. The topic shifts, you and the energy moves, and suddenly you're no longer part of it. So what do? You try to re-enter the conversation more carefully this time. Softer tone, better timing, more awareness of how you sound, and without realizing it, you've already adjusted. Now watch how it escalates. You greet someone, and they delay their response just a second too long. Not enough to call it rude, but enough to make you wait. And that tiny delay puts you in a waiting position, like you're the one seeking their approval. Here's the pattern most people miss. This is a form of silent social control. They're not lowering your status directly. They create just enough discomfort for you to lower it yourself. And some people know exactly what they're doing when they do this. Yet because your brain is wired to keep social situations smooth, even if it means shrinking yourself. There's a specific reason your brain reacts this way, and it's not what most people think. If you don't catch this in real time, you'll keep adjusting yourself in conversations where you were never the problem. And the more you try to fix it, the more you hand over control without realizing it. So why does this still affect you, even when you can tell something isn't right? It comes down to how your brain handles social uncertainty. Your brain is constantly checking one thing. Am I accepted here or not? Not consciously, but through tiny signals you don't even notice. Those small reactions are what tell your brain you're safe, included, and on equal ground. The moment those signals disappear, your brain immediately tries to fix it. Because silence doesn't feel neutral to your brain, it feels like rejection. And this is the moment everything shifts. Your focus turns inward. You start analyzing every word, every gesture. You get stuck in a loop where you start watching yourself instead of the situation. The less feedback you get, the more you start overthinking yourself. And nothing creates more uncertainty than silence. So your mind keeps searching for an answer that never comes, and the more this happens, the less control you actually have over how you come across. Most people think they're reacting to others, but in moments like this, they're actually reacting to their own brain. At that point, you're not focused on expressing yourself anymore. You're just trying to fix the feeling, and if someone understands this pattern, they don't need to dominate you, they just need to stay silent. And your own mind finishes the job for them. This is why subtle, wordless intimidation works so effectively. It hijacks your instincts, turning your brain into its own cage. What starts as a tiny look or pause is quietly rewiring how you act, right under your nose. At first, it barely registers. Just a glance, a pause, a delayed response. But it's already shaping you. You tell yourself it's nothing. They must be distracted. But your brain doesn't forget, it learns. There's a predictable pattern behind this, one your brain can't ignore. The more it happens, the stronger it becomes. Each time you adjust, the subtle power shifts a little more, until it's nearly invisible. You start predicting every pause, analyzing every reaction, adjusting every move, without realizing they're guiding you. In meetings, your tone softens. In group conversations, you hold back ideas. In social settings, you mirror their energy, waiting for a reaction that may never come. Because each time you accommodate, and the subtle control grows, like a lever slowly bending your behavior. You stop responding, you start preempting it, reshaping your own behavior to fit their pattern. And intelligent, self-aware people aren't immune. In fact, the more you think, the more your brain anticipates, the easier it is to bend. You're not just cooperating, you're unconsciously yielding to their silent control. Most people think they're in control, but in these moments their own brain is betraying them. And the worst part? You don't even notice it, until your social presence is theirs to control. What began as a glance or a pause has escalated into a full, invisible shift of influence, all without a single word being said. Now you can spot it, but only if you notice the subtle signs before your brain reacts. Miss these signs, and you'll keep handing over control without noticing. Watch for these triggers. There where control slips away. A pause that feels off. A delayed reply. Being ignored while others get full attention. Do you catch yourself adjusting mid-sentence? Over-explaining? Slowing down or mirroring them? Waiting for their approval? If you ignore these micro-signals, your brain will unknowingly do their work for them. Your brain treats their silence like danger, and you automatically bend to it. Name it in your mind. Signal withdrawal. My brain is reacting, not them. The moment you see it as a pattern, not a personal attack, you reclaim control. You don't have to confront them. You don't have to act differently. You just observe. You watch. You decode. You control your own mind. No one else controls your reactions. Even now, the pattern is still there, but only awareness can stop it from hijacking you, and awareness is only step one. Next, we'll see how subtle cues can actually train your brain to bend automatically. Here's the crazy part. All of this happens without a single word. Every glance, every pause, every delay is silently shaping how you act. Right now. Your brain doesn't see them as neutral. It treats every glance, pause, and delay as a threat. And without noticing, you bend, adjust, and step down, handing over control to cues that aren't even words. Most people never notice it, but those who do gain a hidden edge in every social interaction. The more you pay attention, the clearer it gets. Social control often hides in silence, and the more subtle it is, the more your brain bends without you noticing. Even if you think you're immune, think again. This pattern runs on instincts almost everyone has. Now the question, will you just watch or start noticing all the invisible ways your own brain has been nudged? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's the quiet power humans wield over others and over themselves. If this blew your mind, hit like and subscribe so you never miss a deep dive into the hidden patterns of human behavior. Drop a comment if you've caught this happening to you or noticed it in someone else. And check out the next video to see how subtle cues can train your brain to bend automatically.